Commander Vexthala of the Corvanian Imperial Fleet watched through the observation deck as the human transport vessels docked with Station Omega-7. The sight was, frankly, embarrassing. Where other species arrived in sleek, energy-shielded crafts that hummed with quantum resonance, the humans showed up in what could only be described as flying scrap metal held together by sheer stubbornness and prayer. "Look at that pathetic excuse for military hardware," Lieutenant Crixpore snorted, his 4 eyes blinking in sequence as he adjusted his ceremonial battle crown. "Are we supposed to take these creatures seriously?" The docking bay filled with what the humans called their Marines. Vexthala had read the reports, of course. Every species in the Galactic Defense Coalition had received the briefings about Earth's newest recruits. Small, weak, short-lived beings who somehow managed to survive on a death world that would kill most civilized species within minutes. But seeing them in person? Well, that was something else entirely. "Sweet mother of the void," Crixpore whispered, his voice dripping with barely contained amusement. "They're even smaller than the intelligence report suggested." The humans stood roughly 6 feet tall, which made them positively tiny compared to the 8-foot Corvanians, the 12-foot Zenthari, or the absolutely massive Gorlak warriors who towered at 15 feet. But it wasn't just their size that made the assembled alien forces chuckle. No, it was their equipment. While every other species in the Coalition wore armor that shimmered with personal energy shields, deflector arrays, and nano-repair systems, the humans arrived wearing what appeared to be metal plates strapped to their bodies. Actual metal. Physical protection. As if they were planning to fight with swords and shields like some primitive civilization that hadn't discovered proper warfare yet. Is that ceramic padding?" Crixpore asked, pointing at one human soldier who was adjusting his vest. "Are they wearing pottery into battle?" The human officer, a compact woman with short brown hair and intense green eyes, approached their position. Her name tag read, Captain Murphy. She saluted crisply, which was adorable in its own way. "Commander Vexthala," Murphy said, her voice carrying an odd accent that made her words sound clipped and efficient. "Captain Lisa Murphy, 3rd Marine Expeditionary Unit. We're ready for briefing and deployment." Vexthala looked down at the human captain, trying not to let his amusement show too obviously. "Captain Murphy, welcome to Station Omega-7. I must say, your equipment is quite traditional." "Traditional?" Murphy raised an eyebrow. "Sir, this is standard Mark 7 combat armor. Rated for small arms fire, explosive fragments, and environmental hazards." "Small arms fire?" Crixpore couldn't help himself. "Captain, we're about to face the Nexus Collective. They use plasma cannons that can melt through 6 inches of reinforced uranium. Your metal plates won't even slow down their weapons." Murphy's expression didn't change, but something flickered in her eyes. "With respect, Lieutenant, we've faced plasma weapons before. Our armor performs adequately." "Adequately?" Vexthala felt a wave of sympathy for these doomed creatures. "Captain, perhaps you don't understand the nature of our enemy. The Nexus Collective has conquered 47 star systems. Their soldiers are cybernetically enhanced, their weapons are particle-based, and their tactics are flawless. This isn't some primitive skirmish on your backwater planet." "Understood, sir," Murphy replied, her tone remaining professionally neutral. "May I ask what our mission parameters are?" The briefing room filled with representatives from 6 different species, each one towering over the human delegation. The holographic display showed the target, a Nexus Collective stronghold on the moon of Kepler 442b. Intelligence suggested it was lightly defended, perfect for a quick strike to test the humans' capabilities before giving them real assignments. "The facility contains approximately 200 Nexus soldiers," Vexthala explained, highlighting the enemy positions. "Standard cybernetic enhancement, plasma weaponry, and defensive positions. We'll provide orbital support and extraction." A Zenthari colonel, his scaled hide gleaming under the artificial lights, leaned forward. "Commander, if I may suggest, perhaps the humans should observe this operation rather than participate? Their equipment seems insufficient for modern warfare. Captain Murphy stood up. Colonel, with respect, the 3rd MU has been in continuous combat operations for the past 18 months. We've engaged everything from pirates to planetary defense forces. We know how to handle ourselves. Against what kind of opponents? The Zenthari pressed. Surely not against properly equipped military forces? Murphy's jaw tightened slightly. We've engaged hegemony battle groups, syndicate assault teams, and various mercenary organizations. Our casualty rates remain within acceptable parameters. Acceptable parameters? Crixpor laughed, the sound echoing off the walls. Captain, acceptable parameters against the Nexus Collective mean a 90% survival rate. Anything less is considered catastrophic failure. Noted, Murphy said simply. The Gorlak representative, a massive creature whose voice sounded like grinding stone, spoke up. Perhaps we should assign the humans to rearguard duties? Let them gain experience gradually? No, Vexthala decided. They're here to prove themselves. Captain Murphy, your forces will take point on the assault. Consider it a learning experience. Murphy nodded. Understood, sir. We'll need 30 minutes to prep our equipment and brief the teams. As the humans filed out of the briefing room, the alien officers exchanged glances. The mood was a mixture of anticipation and morbid curiosity. It was like watching a small animal wander into a predator's den, too ignorant to realize its fate. Should we prepare medical teams? Crixpor asked quietly. And body bags, the Zenthari colonel added. Lots of body bags. 30 minutes later, the assault force gathered in the hangar bay. The alien soldiers were magnificent in their advanced armor, energy shields humming softly, weapons that looked like they belonged in a science fiction movie. They moved with the confidence of beings who had mastered warfare through technology and superior firepower. The humans looked like they were heading to a Renaissance fair. Their armor was bulky, angular, and covered in pouches and equipment that seemed to serve no obvious purpose. Instead of elegant energy weapons, they carried projectile firearms that looked barely more advanced than the chemical propulsion systems used by primitive civilizations. Are those actual bullets? A Zenthari soldier asked, staring at the ammunition clipped to a human's vest. Kinetic projectiles, the human, whose name tag read Sergeant Blake, replied cheerfully. 9mm jacketed hollow point. Standard issue. The alien soldier blinked in confusion. But, why? Energy weapons are more efficient, more accurate, and don't require physical ammunition. Blake shrugged. These work fine. Plus, they don't run out of battery power. Battery power? The Zenthari's voice went up an octave. Modern weapons draw power from quantum cells that last for decades. Yeah, but what happens when they break? Blake asked. You throw rocks? The conversation was interrupted by Captain Murphy's voice over the comm system. All units, prepare for insertion. Remember, we're going in hot and fast. Watch your sectors, maintain communications, and nobody plays hero. The dropships launched from the station, streaking toward the moon's surface. The alien forces sat in comfortable climate-controlled compartments, their armor automatically adjusting to optimal combat parameters. The humans sat in what appeared to be a metal box with bench seats, looking like they were headed to a particularly dangerous camping trip. 30 seconds to insertion, Murphy announced. Remember, the enemy has superior numbers and technology. We need to be smarter, faster, and more aggressive. Use the terrain, use your training, and use your heads. The dropships landed with precision, their advanced stealth systems keeping them hidden from Nexus sensors. The assault force deployed in perfect formation, energy shields glowing as they advanced toward the enemy stronghold. That's when the first plasma bolt screamed past Vexthala's head. The Nexus defenders had been waiting. What was supposed to be a lightly defended facility erupted in a storm of energy weapons fire. Plasma bolts, particle beams, and exotic energy pulses filled the air like deadly fireworks. The alien soldiers responded exactly as their training dictated. They took cover, activated their shields, and began returning fire with their own energy weapons. It was textbook military doctrine, refined over centuries of galactic warfare. The humans did something completely different. They scattered, not in panic, but in a pattern that made no sense to anyone watching. Instead of forming defensive positions, they spread out across the battlefield like water finding cracks in stone. Instead of engaging the enemy from range, they began moving closer to the enemy positions. "What are they doing?" Crixpor screamed over the comm system. "They're supposed to maintain formation." Captain Murphy's voice came back calm and steady. "All units, execute Plan Charlie. Blake, take your squad left. Rodriguez, move right. I'll take point with Alpha Team." The humans began moving through the battlefield in ways that defied military logic. They used cover that shouldn't have provided protection, advanced along routes that should have been suicide runs, and seemed to anticipate enemy movements before they happened. Then the impossible occurred. A Nexus soldier's plasma bolt struck Sergeant Blake directly in the chest. The alien forces watched in horror, expecting to see the human vaporized. Instead, Blake stumbled backward, looked down at his smoking armor, and said something that probably wasn't appropriate for mixed company. "How is he still alive?" the Zenthari colonel whispered. Blake's armor was scorched and smoking, but he was still moving. Still fighting. The plasma bolt that should have killed him had been dispersed somehow, spread across the surface of his primitive armor instead of punching through it. "Impossible," Vexthala breathed. "That's impossible." But it wasn't impossible. It was just human. The battlefield erupted into absolute madness as more plasma bolts struck the advancing humans. Each time, Vexthala expected to see vaporized remains. Each time, the humans just kept moving forward, their armor smoking but intact. "This is scientifically impossible," Crixpor shouted, his voice cracking with disbelief. "Those are Class 7 plasma weapons. They should cut through anything." Sergeant Blake, still very much alive despite taking a direct hit, had somehow flanked an entire Nexus defensive position. His squad moved behind him like ghosts, appearing and disappearing among the rocky terrain. Their movements were fluid, unpredictable, and absolutely terrifying to watch. "Contact left." Blake's voice crackled over the comm. 3 cybernetic hostiles, entrenched position behind the ridge. What happened next made every alien observer question everything they thought they knew about warfare. Instead of using long-range energy weapons like civilized soldiers, Blake's team did something barbaric. They got close. Dangerously close. Close enough to see the glowing red optical sensors of the Nexus soldiers. The humans' projectile weapons barked to life. The sound was harsh, primitive, and absolutely devastating. The Nexus soldiers, equipped with the finest cybernetic enhancements money could buy, began dropping like broken toys. "How?" the Zenthari colonel whispered, his scaled hide turning pale. "Their weapons are using chemical propulsion. Stone Age technology." Captain Murphy's voice cut through the chaos with clinical precision. "Alpha Team, suppress the main bunker. Bravo Team, flank right and secure the communications array. Charlie Team, with me on the command center." The humans moved like a pack of predators who had suddenly realized they were the apex species on this particular food chain. Their tactics were insane, their equipment was obsolete, and their armor was held together with what appeared to be tape and prayers. They were also winning. "Commander," Crixpor's voice was barely a whisper. "The humans have eliminated 60% of the Nexus forces. In 12 minutes. Vexthala watched in stunned silence as a human soldier named Davis took a particle beam directly to his helmet. The energy discharge lit up the battlefield like a small sun. Davis's head snapped back, his helmet cracked, and he fell to one knee. Then he stood up, spit blood into the dirt, and continued advancing. "What are these creatures made of?" the Gorlak representative rumbled, his massive frame shaking with something that might have been fear. The answer came from an unexpected source. Murphy's voice, calm and conversational, drifted over the comm system as she coordinated the assault. Baker, watch your 6. Johnson, I need covering fire on that bunker. Thompson, quit showing off and stick to the plan. Captain, Vexthala transmitted directly to Murphy. Your casualties. We're not reading any Kia signals. That's because we don't have any yet, Commander, Murphy replied, her tone suggesting this was perfectly normal. Rodriguez took some shrapnel to the leg, Williams has a concussion from that particle beam, and Blake's armor is pretty much scrap at this point. But everyone's still breathing. But the plasma weapons, Crixpor interrupted. The direct hits. How are you surviving? There was a pause. Then Murphy's voice came back with what sounded suspiciously like amusement. Sir, with respect, your intel was off. These aren't military-grade plasma weapons. They're mining equipment, maybe industrial cutters. Real military plasma weapons would have gone through our armor like paper. The alien forces exchanged glances. Mining equipment? Industrial cutters? The weapons that had been terrorizing star systems for decades were essentially fancy construction tools. Additionally, Murphy continued, her team somehow managing to maintain casual conversation while systematically dismantling a fortified position. Our armor isn't just metal plates. It's layered ceramic trauma plates, ballistic fabric, and energy-dispersing composite materials. Specifically designed to handle directed energy weapons. Directed energy weapons? Vexthala felt like his entire understanding of the universe was shifting. You mean you fought this type of technology before? Oh, constantly, Sergeant Blake chimed in, his voice slightly distorted by his damaged helmet. Half the pirates in our sector use stolen energy weapons. The other half use projectile weapons because they're cheaper and more reliable. We train for both. The Nexus stronghold was falling apart. What had been a coordinated defense was now a scattered retreat as human squads appeared in places they shouldn't have been able to reach, eliminated threats that should have been impossible to defeat, and generally made the entire concept of superior technology look foolish. Contact, command bunker, Murphy's voice carried a note of satisfaction. 3 high-value targets, cybernetic enhancement level unknown. Moving to engage. The alien observers watched their tactical displays as Murphy's team approached the central command structure. The 3 remaining Nexus commanders were the elite of their species, each one worth a dozen regular soldiers, equipped with experimental combat systems that cost more than most starships. The humans kicked in the door and shot them. It was over in 30 seconds. Command bunker secured, Murphy reported. 3 enemy Kia, no friendly casualties. Blake, quit poking the robot parts. Johnson, start the download on their computer systems. Davis, see if you can find anything that looks like a self-destruct system. The comm channel fell silent as the alien forces tried to process what they had just witnessed. The humans had assaulted a fortified position, eliminated 200 cybernetically enhanced soldiers, and captured a strategic facility. Their casualties consisted of 1 man with a limp, 1 with a headache, and 1 who needed new armor. Commander, the Zenthari colonel's voice was barely audible. Perhaps we should reconsider our assessment of human military capabilities. Vexthala nodded slowly. Perhaps we should. The extraction went smoothly. The humans policed their battlefield with professional efficiency, collected their equipment, and prepared for transport back to the station. They moved like this was just another day at the office. Back in the debriefing room, Captain Murphy stood before the assembled alien officers, her armor still smoking slightly from energy weapon impacts. She looked exactly like what she was, a professional soldier who had just completed a routine mission. Preliminary casualty assessment, she began, consulting a tablet. 0 friendly Kia. 3 wounded, all minor. Enemy casualties estimated at 200 plus. Facility secured, intelligence gathered, mission complete. Captain, Vexthala interrupted. Your armor. The energy weapon impacts. How did you survive? Murphy looked down at her scorched vest, then back at the alien officers. Sir, this armor is rated for directed energy weapons up to Class 5 intensity. The weapons we encountered were Class 3 at best. Well within survivable parameters. But it's so primitive, Crixpor protested. Metal plates and ceramic padding. How can that be more effective than energy shields? Energy shields are great, Murphy admitted. Until they fail. Then you're wearing expensive electronics that don't stop anything. This armor might be low-tech, but it works every time. No power requirements, no technical malfunctions, no quantum field fluctuations to worry about. The Gorlak representative leaned forward. But surely advanced weapons would penetrate your defenses? Murphy's expression grew serious. Sir, we've been fighting wars for thousands of years. We've learned that fancy technology is useful, but it's not everything. The best armor in the galaxy doesn't mean anything if the person wearing it doesn't know how to fight. And you know how to fight, Vexthala observed. Yes sir, we do, Murphy replied simply. We've been doing it for a very long time. The alien officers sat in thoughtful silence. Outside the observation windows, human marines were conducting equipment maintenance, cleaning weapons, and preparing for the next mission. They looked so ordinary, so unremarkable, they looked absolutely terrifying. Captain Murphy, Vexthala said finally. I believe we may have underestimated your species. Murphy's mouth quirked in what might have been a smile. Sir, most people do. We're used to it. What would you recommend for our next joint operation? Murphy considered the question seriously. Sir, I'd recommend treating us like any other military unit. Give us a mission, let us plan our approach, and trust us to get the job done. We might not have the fanciest equipment, but we're very good at what we do. As the debriefing concluded and the humans filed out of the room, Crixpor turned to his commander. Sir, I think we may have been looking at warfare all wrong. Vexthala nodded slowly. Lieutenant, I think you may be right. Make a note in our tactical assessments, never underestimate a species that survived on a death world. What should we put as the reason, sir? Vexthala watched Captain Murphy through the observation window as she briefed her troops for the next mission. Her armor was still smoking, her helmet was cracked, and she looked like she had been through a war. She also looked like she was ready to do it again. Put down that they're human, Vexthala said finally. That seems to be reason enough. The laughter had stopped. The jokes about primitive armor and obsolete weapons had died in the face of professional competence and terrifying effectiveness. The humans had proven something important today. Sometimes the best technology in the galaxy was simply knowing how to use what you had, and nobody, absolutely nobody, knew how to use what they had better than the humans.